I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life.
Thou bearest record of thyself. Thy record is not true.
Though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true. For I know whence I came and whither I go, but ye cannot tell whence I come.
You are gods. The phrase, "you are gods," aligns with Jungian psychology, where the self represents the integration of both conscious and unconscious aspects, revealing the divine archetype within. Shadow work, a concept from Carl Jung, helps integrate repressed divine aspects of the self, fostering growth. In John 10:34, Jesus is responding to accusations of blasphemy from the Pharisees, who were scandalized by his claim to be the Son of God. When Jesus declares, "You are gods," he directly references Psalm 82:6, where Jesus points out that the scriptures themselves reflect a divine principle within human nature, something the Pharisees should recognize if they truly understand God's message. The verse in John 10:34 where Jesus says, "You are gods," is a direct reference to Psalm 82:6. I said, "You are gods, sons of the Most High, all of you." This phrase serves as both a bridge and a challenge within Jesus' discourse with the Pharisees, pushing them to reconsider their understanding of divinity and authority. Psalm 82 portrays God in a court of divine beings, a scene common in ancient Near Eastern texts. God reproves these beings, often understood as judges, rulers, or even heavenly powers, for their failure to uphold justice and righteousness. He declares them gods because they are endowed with divine responsibility. Yet due to their shortcomings, God says they will die like men. Here, divinity is less about innate godhood and more about the divine authority bestowed upon those who serve justice and truth. When Jesus invokes this verse, he asserts that the scriptures themselves recognize a divine attribute in humanity. This suggests that divinity is not an exclusive quality of a distant God. It is a potential within those who embody the divine principles of justice and wisdom. Jesus is challenging the Pharisees' narrow conception of blasphemy, showing that his claim to a unique relationship with God is not in contradiction with their own scriptures. Through this subtle yet profound point, Jesus illustrates that sacred texts speak of divinity not only as external but as something woven into the fabric of human existence. In John 10:34, when Jesus declares, "You are gods," he is not making an isolated cryptic claim. Instead, his words are part of a profound scriptural tapestry that weaves through both the Old and New Testaments. To understand the magnitude of his statement, we must examine 8 pivotal cross-references that illuminate and amplify the depth of this teaching. These verses not only anchor Jesus' claim in Scripture, but also reveal an awe-inspiring vision of humanity's divine potential, a vision often overlooked or hidden in plain sight. 1 Corinthians 3:16. Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? Paul's declaration elevates the human body and soul to sacred status, a dwelling place of the divine. This parallels Jesus' statement in John 10:34, emphasizing that divinity resides within us. To be gods is not about possessing power, but carrying the sacred responsibility of housing God's presence. This verse calls for reverence, self-awareness, and the pursuit of holiness. John 17:22-23. The glory that you have given me I have given to them, that they may be one even as we are one, I in them and you in me, that they may be perfectly one, so that the world may know that you sent me, and loved them even as you loved me. In Jesus' prayer to the Father, he reveals the ultimate purpose of his mission, which is unity between humanity and God. The sharing of divine glory is not restricted to Christ, it is extended to all believers. This verse crystallizes the mystical truth behind John 10:34. The realization of oneness with the divine is not a privilege for the few, but a destiny for all. Exodus 7:1. Then the Lord said to Moses, "See, I have made you like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet." God explicitly elevates Moses to a divine status in his mission to liberate Israel. Though Moses is not inherently divine, this verse demonstrates God's willingness to imbue humanity with divine authority and attributes when fulfilling his will. It serves as an Old Testament precedent for Jesus' claim, highlighting the dynamic interplay between God's power and humanity's role as co-creators in his plan. Romans 8:14. 17. For those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. The Spirit you received does not make you slaves, so that you live in fear again. Rather, the Spirit you received brought about your adoption to sonship. And by him we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Now if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ. Paul presents one of the most profound doctrines of the New Testament, the believer's adoption as sons and daughters of God. To be heirs of God is to inherit divine qualities and responsibilities, affirming the essence of Jesus' words in John 10:34. This passage encapsulates the mystery of divine kinship, urging believers to embrace their spiritual identity. Mysticism has long regarded "you are God's" as an acknowledgement of humanity's inner divinity. Gnostic texts such as the Gospel of Thomas explore the idea of an inner divine spark. In Gnosticism, the path to enlightenment involves transcending worldly illusions to reclaim and realize this divine essence within. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus speaks of discovering the light within and teaches that recognizing this light is essential to finding the kingdom of God, which is not an external place but a state of divine awareness. In Christian mysticism, especially within Eastern Orthodox tradition, the concept of theosis, divinization, embodies the journey toward godliness. The mystic Saint Athanasius famously stated, "God became man so that man might become God," emphasizing that humanity's ultimate purpose is union with God. This doesn't imply that humans become God in essence, but rather that they participate in divine nature, mirroring God's attributes. In Sufism, the heart is often described as the seat of the divine light. The great Sufi poet Rumi speaks of polishing the heart to reveal this light, suggesting that divine qualities lie dormant within each individual, waiting to be uncovered. The phrase "you are God's" would resonate with Sufi teachings on the nearness of God and the potential for union with the beloved, which transcends the individual self and reveals God's presence within. Before we go deeper into the forbidden teachings of Jesus, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who needs to hear this. At the heart of "you are God's" lies an invitation to recognize the divinity that exists within each person. From a psychological perspective, this recognition is an act of self-awareness, where individuals begin to understand that they are not merely passive beings subject to external forces, but active co-creators of their own lives. The phrase serves as a reminder that the deepest essence of each individual is sacred, divine, and inherently good. Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in modern psychology, spoke of the self as the totality of the psyche, an integration of both conscious and unconscious elements. Jung believed that the path to psychological health and wholeness involves recognizing the self, a concept that bears striking similarities to the spiritual journey of realizing one's divine essence. In Jungian terms, the self is not just an individual ego, but a divine, eternal aspect of the psyche that can be awakened through self-reflection, introspection, and integration of the unconscious mind. When we say, "you are God's," we are essentially pointing to this divine archetype within the psyche, the aspect of the self that is always aligned with truth, wisdom, and compassion. A key aspect of personal growth is to bring this divine archetype into conscious awareness, integrating it into daily life. This process of self-actualization, as Maslow described, can be viewed as the personal manifestation of the divine potential within. One of the most profound psychological applications of "you are God's" is found in the process of integrating the shadow, a concept that Jung pioneered. The shadow represents the unconscious aspects of the personality that the ego has repressed because they are seen as undesirable or unworthy. It contains all the traits, desires, and impulses we reject but which are essential to our whole being. In the context of "you are God's," the shadow contains the untapped divine potential within us. The divine nature isn't only expressed in light and love but also in power, assertiveness, and the ability to manifest and create. By embracing the shadow, the parts of us that feel unworthy or repressed, we acknowledge the completeness of our humanity and the fullness of our divine potential. This process is deeply connected to personal healing and growth, as it allows us to move from fragmentation to integration. The phrase "you are God's" serves as a reminder that divinity isn't about perfection, but the integration of all aspects of the self, the light and the dark, the known and the unknown. Recognizing and accepting the shadow is an essential step in realizing the fullness of our inner divinity. One of the key psychological applications of "you are gods" is found in the movement from the ego to the higher self. In many spiritual traditions, the ego is viewed as the aspect of the self that is primarily concerned with survival, status, and self-interest. While the ego is a necessary part of the human experience, it is also the part of us that can lead to suffering when it becomes overly identified with external validation, material success, or fear. The ego often distorts our sense of self, convincing us that we are separate from others, from nature, and from the divine. However, the realization of "you are gods" invites a profound shift. The individual moves beyond egoic identification to a higher self-awareness, where one sees themselves as part of a larger whole, connected to the divine source of all life. In psychological terms, transcending the ego involves self-transcendence, a state in which the individual moves beyond personal desire and self-centeredness to act from a place of universal love and wisdom. This journey of transformation aligns with the process of spiritual awakening, where the individual becomes more attuned to their authentic self, the part that is inherently connected to the divine and to all of creation. Now let's examine 4 more pivotal cross-references that illuminate and amplify the depth of this teaching. Genesis 1:26-27. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness." This foundational verse is the cornerstone of understanding humanity's connection to divinity. Being created in the imago Dei, image of God, signifies that humans bear God's likeness not merely in physical form but in spiritual, intellectual, and moral capacity. In mysticism, this concept is often linked to humanity's potential for divine union and reflects the latent spark of God embedded within each soul. Jesus' words in John 10:34 echo this primordial truth, reminding us that our divine essence is not foreign, it is intrinsic, woven into the fabric of creation itself. Psalm 82:6. I said, "You are gods, you are all sons of the Most High." This is the direct verse Jesus quotes in John 10:34. In Psalm 82, God addresses a group of beings referred to as gods, Hebrew, Elohim, holding them accountable for their actions. Scholars and mystics have long debated whether these gods are celestial beings, earthly judges, or a metaphor for humanity itself. Mystically, the verse suggests a duality, a calling to live in divine righteousness, and a reminder of our divine origin. Jesus' reference reclaims this truth, inviting his audience and us to awaken to the divine heritage latent within. Psalm 8:4-5. What is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you visit him? For you have made him a little lower than the angels, and you have crowned him with glory and honor. Here the psalmist marvels at the elevated status of humanity in creation. The phrase, "a little lower than the angels," Hebrew, Elohim, has often been interpreted to mean a little lower than God. The crowning with glory and honor emphasizes the divine attributes bestowed upon humanity. This verse resonates deeply with Jesus' claim, underscoring the elevated nature of humanity and its closeness to the divine realm. 2 Peter 1:4. Through these, he has given us his very great and precious promises, so that through them you may participate in the divine nature, having escaped the corruption in the world caused by evil desires. This verse from Peter unveils the transformative power of faith, participation in the divine nature. Theosis, or divinization, becomes the bridge between human frailty and divine perfection. Peter echoes Jesus' assertion that humanity's ultimate purpose is not merely survival or morality, but spiritual transcendence, a return to the divine source. If these words resonate with you, know that you've only scratched the surface. If you're ready to explore these mysteries even further, subscribe to the channel, because this journey is only beginning. And let us know in the comments, do you feel the call of divinity within you?